Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining Landscaping to the Point today. I am still with my great hosts here, JC at the bottom and Josh over to my side. He is got some great insight. Both of them do, actually. I'm just the old man that's here in this group, and I'm not telling much today. So, but we're gonna go with a great topic that I think all of us want to know, and it's that time of season. It's baseball season. So we're going to talk about baseball this week. And then we're going to, we might talk about, there's all kinds of stuff about baseball we can talk about today. So, Josh, you had some things you might want to share about, like, maybe the pitching clock, maybe.
Well, yeah. First of all, I wish there was like a sound over we could have used here where it was like the beginning of a baseball game.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, excuse me. As many people, or maybe a few people might know, baseball started up. A lot of teams had their opening season games this week. Red Sox were one of them. Uh, MLB implemented a set of rules to try to speed up the game of baseball. So I don't know how many people listening actually watch the games or have gone to the games, but the minimum on a baseball game is about 3.5 hours. I know they put it at three, but it's typically about 3.5 hours can run to four. And a lot of that is because there's so many pauses during the game. Whereas it might be, I don't know if people in the day remember the Nomar Garciaparra with the 5 minutes of adjusting his bat and gloves. A pitcher might sit there and glare to try to pause the game and psych the batter out. They might pivot to first base 8, 9, 10 times. So all of that's gone. So MLB has implemented a few rules, and the one that I like is the pitch clock. So just like in baseball, I'm sorry, basketball, hockey, you have a clock. When as soon as you touch that ball or that puck, you have about in baseball, it's 24 seconds that you go up the court, down the court, that you have to score. If you don't score, it's a violation. So now in baseball, what they've implemented is a 15-second pitch clock with the bases empty. That means from the moment the catcher throws you the ball and the pitcher catches it, the pitch clock goes off. So you got 15 seconds. And the clock stops as soon as the pitcher goes into his rotation. So as soon as his leg goes up on the mount, or it stops when he steps off the mount or he throws the first. Now, here's the cool thing. You can only do that twice per batter. So if you throw to first and you go up, then that's it. You're shit out of luck. I actually don't know what the violation is if you go over the two. I got to look that up while we're chatting. They're trying so hard to save baseball because baseball is a dying sport. As much as I hate to admit it, because I love baseball, it's a dying sport. People don't watch it. I think a lot of it is because how long the goddamn games are. They're afternoon games. They're 3 or 4 hours long. I'll watch the Celtics. I'm done in 2.5 hours. Three if there's like overtime. The Sox, other than that, it's just way too long. And I mean, I think what they're doing is right. There's a lot of negative feedback from sports writers, commentators. Preseason, spring training, they did a lot of this, and there were some people that were in favor of it because it speeds things up. And I mean, if you think back to Jensen, you'll know this in '04 when the Sox won the series. We played the Yankees in the American League divisional series, and Mariano Rivera in the ninth was nervous. Scott, when I tell you he threw the ball the first 14 times in one inning, right? So imagine that you get 1 hour per game worth of downtime, and that's what it figures out to. So there's a sports writer in Boston that actually wrote that up, where it averages out to all the downtime between throwing a first, the batters in the box, the pitchers taking their time, TV commercials. It's 1 hour of downtime. So those games should technically be 2.5 hours.
Right.
There's 162 games in a season. That's almost 7 days worth of downtime in between pitching batters out of the box. So that's 7.75 of a day of downtime. That's a week worth of downtime worth of baseball. That's insane. So I don't know. I'll get you guys' opinion. I don't know how much you're into baseball, but I figure there might be some listeners that are into sports. And I really like how this is going. I think it's going to speed it up. People might get more into it, especially when, players start getting frustrated with that clock. They're not paying attention when they're really pressed. First couple games of the season, no one gives a shit. After the All-Star break, this is when it starts getting serious and guys start getting mad at these clocks when they start getting violations. What do you think?
Well, I just looked it up. A violation, if you go past the 15 seconds, if nobody's on, or 20 seconds, if there's a base runner, it's an automatic ball for the hitter that's out there. So, I mean, that could, if you're screwing around, that could really, make or break your ball count. And then they said opening day had 14 violations of the pitcher's clock.
Wow. 14
14
throughout the
violations.
entire
That's a
league, and not
lot.
everybody played on that on first opening day. So, I mean, I think it definitely like they have to relearn, like especially these vets coming up, the vets that are in there, they got to relearn, and I like it, and this is what I mean. So, if you have a 3-2 count, 3 balls in baseball, it's 4 balls, you walk, 3 strikes, you're out. You know the song, and a lot of the times when they stall, it's on that full count, that 3-2. So when they stall out, and like you're saying, so if they get that ball, that's a free base for the batter. And
Right,
I mean,
right.
think about like when you're trying to clinch a playoff berth or get into a wild card spot, that's a huge difference of walking a batter on a glitch. But that's why I like it. And
There was a
and
couple spring training games that ended. I think one of them that ended in that fashion. I think it was a pitcher's clock violation in which it brought in the winning run and the game was over.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that could, like you guys said, I mean, that could make or break a game. I mean, you could have almost all the bases loaded and, just be waiting on that base runner and then, oh,
Yeah,
it's a ball. So now
it
you
was
just had somebody score.
in fact, it was a Red Sox spring training game, and I remember seeing the highlights of it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was a pitcher's clock violation, and the bases were loaded or something to that extent, and they walked in the winning run. Game was gone, over.
here's another one. So I want to revisit just real quick what I said. So the disengagement. So pitcher has 2 disengagements per batter, and the disengagements count as you try to pick off a runner at base, or you step off to basically call a timeout. Mount visits, injury timeout, and offensive team timeouts do not count as disengagements, which I don't know if I agree with that. Those mount visits can take a while, especially when you get the whole team in there, and sometimes they do abuse that. So I think I would have liked to have seen the mount visits limited per game. It's the same way where like you get like any other sport, you get 5 timeouts per game. If a team has used up all 5, it's a lot. Also, they're going to 5, so they do limit it at 5. I think that's excessive still. And then what was the other one? If a third pickoff attempt is made, the runner automatically advances 1 base if the pickoff attempt is not successful. So I guess if you do 3, which doesn't make sense because they just said that you get. Okay, so
5.
there. So the violation on a pickoff on disengagement would be that you. Oh wow. So you get a free base if you violate that pickoff. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, dude, this could definitely change the dynamic of a playoff series. Regular season guys are going to get pissed off, but when it comes to playoff, that's really when baseball gets interesting because 162 games is a long time to watch baseball and get through it. And I don't think people really stop paying attention until the end of the season when like you're really battling in. So this is going to be really interesting to see. I mean, the Sox have sucked for a little while, and obviously opening day they got blown out. So we'll see.
Well, okay, I got a question for you guys. So there's the White Sox and the Red Sox. Why didn't they come out with the Black Sox or the Gray Sox? I mean, I don't get why there's just only 2 Sox.
Well, originally we were the Boston Braves.
Yeah.
And then the Braves went down to Atlanta, and then we became the Red Sox. I don't know the full history behind it, but I don't. Yeah, there's only Red and White Sox. I don't know.
I'm
Okay,
not sure why. I'm not sure why.
They
I
should
mean,
just have called the Dirty
it would
Sox.
be a good name for a team. I guess we should probably start our own team. I mean, Gray
Dirty
Sox
Sox
or
are
something.
realistic. You get your White
Yeah,
Sox dirty, the Dirty Sox.
yeah.
Hey Scott, you pitching or catching?
Pitching, pitching. I'll let
He
you
was waiting
catch.
for that. He was
You're
waiting.
catching.
You walked into that. Put on punch.
I don't know. There are certain things that I do like when it comes to the changes in the rules, and there are certain things I don't like. I think people are going to be hesitant because we're all creatures of habit, and we don't naturally like change. So when you do something for so long, and then you throw in an aspect like that, people are going to get they not even if they truly like it inside, they're going to say they don't like it just because they don't want that change. But then I think after a little while, people are starting to get used to it and see that, maybe there are more pros and cons to it. There's always going to be cons. We try to perfect the sport everything that we do, we try to perfect always. And there's no such thing as perfection. Like one thing I don't like personally is years back when they put instant replay in baseball. Now, I know, like, yeah, let's call a fair shot. I get it. I understand it. But I guess I'm one of those people that don't like change. I've been when it comes to baseball, traditionalist when it comes to that. But I could agree with the pitch clock that pitchers take way too much. They're divas. They're divas. They take way too much time to do whatever they're going to do, whatever their rituals are before they throw that ball to down range, and even batters too, stepping out of the batter's box. Just get in there, play the game. And the other thing I don't like is that when it comes to extra innings, that they put a runner automatically on second base. Is that something that they instilled?
Look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if it's extra innings during the regular season, they'll advance a player on second base, and then
That could be a game change. Look, I went to, I think it was my oldest daughter's first game, and we went to a Sox game, and the game started at 7. We got out of there at 3 a.m. It went into extra innings, and it was just constant. I mean, she got her first foul ball on her first game, which was awesome. But we got out of there at 3 a.m. Mind you, we could have went to 2.5 baseball games. So that's huge if they did that, because I mean that's a leg up, you know.
I think they did that previous seasons before, except for playoffs. But during the regular season games, I think they were advancing it during extra innings, putting an automatic runner on second base.
Yeah, that's what it says. Extra runner is placed automatically on second base, beginning the extra inning. Is now permanent.
So that's going to be in postseason baseball too, I would assume, right?
Yeah,
I think that's tough. I don't know. See, I don't know how I feel about that. Regular season, absolutely, because regular season drags out. Like I said, 162 games with all the overages, it added up to about 7 days worth of, lolly-dolling around in the batter's box and on the mound. But to do that in the playoffs, I feel like that's a disadvantage for everybody. Yeah. Like even like you said with the instant replay, I can see the instant replay in playoffs, not regular season. I think that's stupid. It is what it is.
I don't like it. I know there's an advantage to it, but I just like the traditional umpires call it and can't reverse it. But
what about in general with basketball and hockey and everything? What about the instant replay on those? Do you think it should just be the ref calls it and that's it?
No, because I think
that's the way it used to be. Why not keep it that way?
Yeah, I don't know. It's been longer going on in basketball and football, I believe, right?
Yeah.
But I think they all do this to keep it, like Josh was saying in the beginning, keep it down to a certain time frame. I mean, that's where they're trying to go at in all these sports. I mean, look at even NASCAR. NASCAR has kind of reduced it down to keep out the accidents and, keep it to a certain time frame, because sometimes these accidents used to get immense and, close the track down for hours, and people would be there for 7-8 hours waiting for the race to finish, or having to come back the next day. So I think a lot of these places are doing this in sports to keep time limits to a certain thing. So you're like Josh said, you're not spending 6 hours there watching a baseball game. That's
think of it as a business sense, right? So baseball is what they say America's pastime sport. That's done. I think that's bullshit now. It's no longer that. Like kids don't play it as much anymore in Little League. The market outside, like, so me and Jensen have like the Boston Red Sox market, right? Which is huge. That fan base is huge. The bandwagon's huge. And then what are your other big markets? Boston, New York, parts of Cali,
Detroit,
and Texas.
Chicago. Yeah.
But are they big in Detroit? The Cubs fans, yeah. But think of that. You got what, 30?
Pretty big, dude.
32 MLB teams. But it's not a huge market in these teams. Like, people don't give a shit about the Florida, Miami Marlins or whatever they are now. Yeah, the Washington Nationals. Like it's a dying business in that sense. Like, people go now, like you go to a Sox game and people will dress to the nines, like they're going out to a club rather than having on like their team gear. Like, I'm excited. We're going to a minor league game this afternoon, and I've only been to one minor league game in my life, and I like the atmosphere there because it's more family oriented and about the game.
Think of it this way, right? Everything major league starts with, kids sports, and how many kids are signing up to play baseball nowadays, as opposed to like lacrosse is huge now. Kids are signing up for lacrosse, or I don't know, some other sports. So football is always going to be huge. Kids play football.
Soccer is pretty big in our area.
But even football, again, I think it depends on your market with kids. Obviously, in the South and maybe parts of the Midwest, it's big, but it's also like there was a statistic that went out that because of the CTE scans and everything going on, parents have limited how much their kids are playing football. They've done the head up rule where, you can't go down and tackle below the waist. Head's going to be up on your tackle, so you're not going right on the soft spot of your head. But between baseball and Pop Warner football, the membership statistics have gone down with kids signing up. And again, it depends on your market. Like obviously, Texas, those South Gulf Coast areas are going to be a little bit more where they're crazy about high school football and such.
Do you guys remember a few years back? There was a perfect game being pitched, and the umpire mistakenly called the runner safe on first.
Yep.
And because of the fact that the umpire's call can't be reversed, or at the time then it couldn't be reversed, it ruined that perfect game. And that's just another example. Like I think like a call like that, if you group up with your other umpires and make a call on it, I think that's fine. But and again, I think that would be a benefit for like instant replay, even though I don't like the instant replay. But it just shows you like that these changes that are doing now can have a big effect on baseball. But like Josh is talking about, like the sports, like the market, it all depends on the market you're at. But what our kids or what our parents gravitating towards more so these days, they want their kids to be safe. Baseball, I think, is any sport is going to be dangerous to it, but baseball is a safer sport as opposed to hockey or football. But you're not seeing a lot of inner city kids playing like baseball. They usually do basketball because it's cheaper. All you need is a pair of sneakers and a ball and a court, which you see all the time, as opposed to buying gear for your kids, bats, gloves, uniforms, all that stuff.
Yeah, it depends on the sport. I mean, it gets expensive when it comes to certain sports. I mean, hockey, I think, is one of the most expensive sport for a kid
Christ, yeah.
because of your skates, your pads, all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot there, and even ice time anymore is expensive for, these kids to go to. So, I mean, yeah, I can see that. I mean, basketball, you're pretty much you're less of a expense. I mean, most of my kids have always played soccer. So, and I was a soccer coach for years, and there's a lot there too. I mean, there's a lot there involving in, you still have to have your shin guards. You still have to have a cup. You still have to have the ball, I mean, you want that kid to have the bag because you don't want the cleats walking across the asphalt beforehand. So, I mean, there's at least $200-300. I mean, I remember going out and buying. My youngest wanted to play baseball one year, literally buying a bat, helmet, the bag, the pants. I spent at least $600-700. The bag was $200 alone, So, I mean, there's a lot there in certain sports.
You two are parents, right? So like, time is valuable to you guys. Basketball is a time limit. Hockey has a time limit. Football has a time limit. Baseball, Little League, you're going to be out there for a little bit.
You're out there. And I played like up until like in through high school baseball, and it was limited. And I've coached my daughters in basketball for years, and it goes by. I can't imagine being a hockey parent, because when Scott says, a few $100 here, that stuff adds up, especially if you have a couple kids. Hockey parents are a different breed of people. You're talking thousands a year between equipment costs and travel costs, because I'm going to say typically on average, most hockey families are doing 2 or 3 different leagues with their kids. And I say this because I got a lot of friends who are hockey parents, and they're doing like 3 or 4 practices a week and then games. On a Saturday, I got one buddy that will drive to a section of Boston, play a game, and then drive an hour west for another game. And then the next day they have to go to another game. That's exhausting. And then think your kids are growing. So if they stop playing at 10 years old between the age of 18, how many sets of skates and pads are you going through? Holy shit. Like Jensen said, basketball, dude, like we said, here's some last week, here's some Payless sneakers, here's a basketball. If you live in a town with no court, find the biggest city next to you. You'll find about half a dozen courts, and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, hockey, I'll tell you this. My brother played hockey pretty much from when he was 5 all the way up till he was 18. And I mean, I would tell you, this was back in the 90s. My dad paid at least $2,000 a year for just equipment. And that's not just, that each place he played, but he played nonstop. So he played pretty much from travel to regular season, at school to travel. It was nonstop. And like you said, Josh, it's it's a different breed, and they travel a lot. I remember my dad traveling from here in Ohio all the way to Chicago for a game, just for a weekend.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of, you're talking gas on top of all your $2,000, so.
And then I'm sure you have to pay something in order for the team to travel where they have the reservations. But I forgot about that, Scott. Yeah, some of these guys will travel. Another friend of mine, his kid just traveled down to Florida for a tournament. And like you said, that adds up. So now you could be close to like $4,000 a year. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to use this as a snippet on my TikTok and my Instagram. So when people see this snippet, post in the comments, how much are you paying if you're a hockey parent or any sport parent? What are you paying to keep your kids in sport every year? And what's the time that you're giving up when you go to those games?
I'll tell you what, I spend a lot. My daughter is a cheerleader. And I'll tell you what, just regular school cheerleader, dude. My warm ups just for a pants and a jacket is $200. And not on top of skirt and everything else that we pay for every year. That's a lot to go about. I mean, and I know sports are expensive, any type of sport. So
are you doing those travel competitions? Because I know there's a lot of competitive tournaments with cheerleading. You guys doing those travel tournaments?
No, she's not doing travel. My guy that works for me, his niece does travel, and they're going from state to state, pretty much, and they're going down to Orlando for the world competition. And that's, luckily they won one of their competitions that put them all full bid where they could get in and not have to pay for anything, but they still have to pay for the travel expense. And that's a lot right there, dude. I mean, you're figuring they're putting a lot into it. Yeah.
I wanted to get into because Jensen mentioned this, but I'll save this for another week. But so I do want to touch base on legitimacy and accuracy of referees and umpires in the game, because Jensen just brought something up about that missed call on that perfect game. But I'll save that for another time because we can get in an hour conversation. So we'll have another sports segment on WEEI.
WEEI. I don't think a lot of people
WEEI.
That's all right. People get it. That's the first radio station that came to my head. That's where the Red Sox play.
Yeah.
The radio station they broadcasted on.
So you guys are big Red Sox fans. Have you been big Red Sox fans all your life?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yes.
Okay.
More or less the reason why, obviously, because I grew up in the city and that's what was around, but they sucked for me growing up. So figure, late 90s, very early 2000s. I was a bus ride, like a 15-minute bus ride to Fenway Park. And what they would do is they suck so bad as after the 6th or 7th inning, they would let people in for free. If you were down there, they would let you into the bleachers. Like if you go back on YouTube and you look up, Red Sox 1996, 1997, the bleachers were empty. No, you couldn't give the seats away. So we got into that because there was a lot. There was a lot of opportunities to go to the games as kids. I mean, we had Roger Clemens, Mo Vaughn, Otis Nixon, John Valentine, all those old school guys. And then you started getting into like the Nomar Garciaparra era, Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez. So it definitely blew up. For me, I did fall off after they won the second World Series just because it took away that charm that you were looking for. Like you were chasing that pennant for so long, and then they got it. I mean, dude, I remember being down at Fenway Park after they won it, and it was insane. That was like our first championship. And what was it, Jensen, like 80 years, 85 years or something?
86, yeah.
86 years. And it was just, put it this way, they had SWAT teams from all around the state trying to do crowd control and pushing people back. I remember like me and my buddy, they were shooting off pepper spray cans and picking up the pepper spray cans and throwing them back behind the squads like, fuck you. But I mean, obviously, we're kids. That was poor celebrating, but it was insane. But it definitely died off and it became more of a bandwagon team over the years. We had people who couldn't tell you like 2 players besides like Manny. Like even now, most people can't name like 3 players on the team, but it is what it is. I mean, I did enjoy, that was probably my main team, the Sox and the Celtics growing up.
Yeah, that was definitely the dirt dog era of baseball. Is what we appreciated back then. And then, like Josh is saying, absolutely 110% agree that they became kind of a glorified, just a bandwagon, and it didn't feel like original baseball. I don't know. It just like they won, and then the charm kind of fell through. But going back to your question, Scott, yeah, always been a Red Sox fan. Obviously, a lot of that had to do with just growing up in not in Boston, but near Boston in New England. Um, Josh, you brought up my first favorite player, John Valentin. I don't know why I liked him, but I had an autograph of him, like a little poster I had in my room. So I definitely like them. I wouldn't say that I'm the most knowledgeable person as to like stats and things like that, and a lot of the history behind it. But I was a fan, and up until maybe a few years ago, I was going into opening day every year. I did it for like 13 years in a row. And what I would do is I would wait outside on Lansdowne Street. Not a lot of people knew this, but they would hold like 200, 250 seats for same day sales. So even if they were sold out, they would have those seats available. The only problem is you had to wait in line 2 hours prior to the ball park opening. And then once you go in and buy your ticket, you'd have to go right in right away, and the game wouldn't start for another 2 hours. So not only are you sitting through a whole entire baseball game, but you're also waiting around 4 hours prior to even the start of the game. My mom and I would go together because she loved it. She's still a big Red Sox fan, and that's something her and I did for a little while. And we stopped going after a little bit. And this year she's like, "Hey, can we do that again?" So I didn't do it this year, but maybe next year I'll try to go.
You should have, because this is the first year they couldn't sell out open day. So Red Sox tickets on Ticketmaster were going from $19 to $50.
Wow.
So Scott, just to give you a reference point, Fenway Park, because they won, and like Jensen was saying, it became this team where it was almost expected for you to win the World Series, or to at least be in the ALDS, and it kind of took away from like that charm. So average ticket in the bleachers was about $90 for a bleacher seat. And if anybody knows Fenway Park, you're sitting in the direct sun during an afternoon game. Like you're getting sunburned. If you got an, you have an Irish can in a second. But typical field box seats are about $145 for an average game. So, to get in there, Jensen, you should have got in there yesterday, man. You probably could have scored for like $50 some decent seats. And now I'm just gonna make you feel bad. I hope your mom's listening.
It's all right. You and I will go to a Woo Sox game together.
I do. They're cheap. They're cheap. They're awesome. The ones we got today were standing room $9.
Yeah, and you could find literally you could walk around that park and just find yourself a seat, and it's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So Scott's in Ohio, so you don't have much out there. Ohio State, that's about it, right? And you're an Irish fan.
I'm an Irish fan when it comes to college football, but literally we are close to Toledo. I grew up going to the Toledo Mud Hens, which is the offshoot of the Detroit Tigers. So pretty much if all the guys that play for the Detroit Tigers came from the Toledo Mud Hens. So literally, a lot of times we went as kids all the time. My parents always had tickets. So, but growing up, I kind of just baseball wise, team wise was Detroit Tigers, but we didn't go much. So I followed a lot of other players like Nolan Ryan and Ken Griffey Jr. and Jose Canseco. So,
you weren't an Indians fan growing up?
No, we're not even close to that. See, Indians were 2.5 hours from. And then Detroit, we're about an hour and 10 minutes away.
So you were literally to go. Fan. Cecil Fielder, right? Cecil Fielder.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Reds there, Scott.
Cincinnati Reds is 3.5 hours the opposite way. So we're a lot closer. That's the only bad part.
Being a Tigers fan, Jesus Christ, for all those shit. At least with the Indians, man, you guys the Indians and Yankees were like the conference finals for so long. Like the Indians were the team, like you liked it because Manny was over there for a while. You guys had a killer squad.
Yeah, but we got used to it. Like I said, I followed a lot of other players from different teams than I did really the Tigers when I was growing up. So it wasn't like, hey, this is. my total team, I could sit down and watch a game and someone would be like, "Oh, look at this Tiger," and I'd be like, Who's he playing against? Is he playing the Kansas City Royals? Is that Nolan Ryan up on the plate? Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Why are you doing that?" Like, because I know his stats at that point. I don't know the other people in the team's stats. So yeah.
Josh,
But what do you guys think about the grass situations? I mean, they have different grass all across at all these different, fields and stadiums. Do you think they would ever go to synthetic turf like they are with football?
I just did it's funny you bring that up. I did a video yesterday
Okay.
for EMB. That's not out yet, but I don't think so on baseball. I think that's a tradition that they just can't touch with that. I mean, I think there are 5 teams currently in MLB that have synthetic turf, and those mostly the domes like Rogers Center,
No.
the Rays, those places. But I don't know. It's just something about baseball and real grass. I know back in the day, football used to use real grass and like they transitioned over. But I think those football stadiums are used for other events as well too. So maybe that might be a factor to it. I know baseball stadiums are also being used for concerts and things such like that. So they work around it as well. I don't know. I think that's just part of the tradition. I don't think that they'll touch.
Josh, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think as long as you have open stadiums and open fields, that real turf will be there. I mean, these guys. I mean, I think it's Dave Miller, who runs Fenway. You can follow him on Instagram. Dude, I love why Jensen. You follow him too. I mean, like the amount of effort that goes into maintaining this field every year, and like in spring, what they do, it's like its own spring training. It's so cool. I think if teams were like, let's say Fenway Park, they were like, all right, we're gonna move it and we're gonna go to another location, and it's gonna be a dome. They probably go to synthetic turf. It's cheaper to maintain because I mean, think of from a landscaper's point of view. If you're tearing up a ballpark every year, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars just in actually labor doing it, and then the material cost. But I mean, no, I think it is part of the tradition. I don't think that they would change anything. I like the look of it. I think it's cool when you go in, you see the way they mow the friggin' field. Like there's so much effort put into mowing designs and actually folding designs. Like I'm telling you, anybody that's listening, I think it's Dave Miller, Mellor. Like you see some cool tricks. Like if you ever had a high-end customer and you wanted to know how to like put a design in the lawn, how like they have the mowers with just the rollers, they have just the compactors that run over the lawn. So it's so cool the effort that goes into it. So I like that aspect of it. Where like turf, they just paint shit into the lawn.
He actually uses water to
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
bend the design, the grass, move the grass in one direction for the designs. And I don't know if you remember a few years back, they used a GPS mower that mowed in David Ortiz in the outfield.
How cool is that, dude?
That's awesome.
Like how like I would go back to mowing lawns if I could do that shit. That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't know if you've seen it. Like when Kobe Bryant died, someone did that with Kobe Bryant. They had a big field and they used the GPS.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
get the design. Yeah, that was really really cool.
That would be nice. I mean, I do like the grass fields more than I do synthetic turf. So I mean, I think football I guess is a lot different, but yeah, I think that it'd be better back on regular grass fields.
I mean, can you imagine a ground ball on synthetic turf? I mean, if you're dealing with that thicker synthetic turf that looks like grass, but if you're using the stuff that's on a football field, I mean, you're gonna have ground balls going 110 miles an hour in the outfield. Everything's gonna be bouncing off the perimeter walls.
Right. And then it's going to be even harder game that way. I mean, if you do it that way,
and then it's going to go back to 3.5 hours.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'd probably put some kind of stipulation in it or something, probably.
Hey, Josh, what's your second and third favorite baseball team? Same question, Scott.
Oh, man. Second and third favorite baseball teams. Well, let me see. Man. So definitely not the Yankees. I'll tell you that. So I jump around a lot. Like I like the Mariners. I like the Cubs. If I had to have my backup, Just because I like the logo, the White Sox, man. I know that goes back to it. And then the Royals, the Kansas City Royals. Yeah. That's it. So the Royals won the pennant. I was born in 85. I was actually born in Kansas City, Missouri, believe it or not. So I'm a Midwest baby. I only was out there for like 3 months, but they won the pennant the year I was born. So that's kind of like pat me on the back, like that's me. Huh?
I knew there was something about you. I couldn't put my finger on it.
A little bit of that twang in there, boy. You know what I'm saying? Watch a baseball game. I was born. Yeah.
I'm gonna call you Bubba Sparks.
Bubba Sparks. But no one believes me because it's like they're like, dude, the way you sound, how the fuck can you be from Kansas City, Missouri? I'm like, I didn't live out there. I was born there. Like my father was out there. My father was based out there. He stayed out there. He had other kids out there. My mom went like I had an older sister. My dad's one of those guys that has franchises of kids and stuff, like different families. He liked it out in Missouri. So he stayed out there. My mother went out there. I was born and then they broke up and then I came back out here. Like my father's originally from Boston. My mother's from Boston. So somehow we just, we went out there. So I can't say born and bred Boston guy. Yeah, no. I'm from Missouri and I raised in Boston.
Scott,
Nobody knows that. That's the funny shit. Hardly anybody knows that.
Oh,
Even Scott.
man.
Scott's like, what?
I'm speechless right now. He's like, huh?
Scott, why do you think I tell you that I go out to Missouri? I got brothers out there. I got a sister in Tennessee. Like we're scattered all throughout the Midwest there.
The
You're the
country's
only
being
one up to
taken
the
by
top.
Curvin.
That's the only thing. You're up in
Huh?
Boston. Everybody else is down low.
I said
Yeah,
the country's being taken over by Curvins.
that's right. You're coming, baby. Dude, I got like probably like 30. I mean, dude, Midwest people, they're like Irish people in the 80s having babies, dude. There's like 20 nieces and nephews out there running around, causing havoc. It's funny. I go out there too, and people are like, you sound funny. I'm like, you sound funny. You sound like Boomhauer.
Oh,
Scott's mind blown right now. He's absolutely
yeah,
mind
I'm
blown.
just, yeah. My second team would be the Oakland Athletics. I mean, I kind of followed them a lot when Jose Canseco was there. Josh was laughing at it because, way the heck away from where I'm at.
Oh, that's cool though. Ricky Henderson too, back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of good players from back then.
Oh.
And then, I mean, really, Kansas City would probably be the only other one that I followed because of Nolan Ryan, way back when. And that was kind of, I mean, other than that, it was kind of like I'd watch certain games of certain players, and I was a big baseball card collector. So pretty much when I was younger, it was like you picked up the cards and whoever was the top rookie that year, it was kind of like you followed him more than anything else. So it wasn't, it just depended on the year. I mean, there was years I'd follow, Chicago, and, the White Sox, and just depended on who it was, so but if I had to pick my two teams, it would be, pretty much Oakland and pretty much the Royals. So
It's so going back to that Royals thing. So one of the biggest, it's not because I was born there, I liked them, but you guys will know Bo Jackson. So as a kid, Bo Jackson was like one of the first dual sports players. So he played for the Oakland Raiders and he played for the Kansas City Royals, and the guy was awesome. So with the Royals, it was the Nolan Ryan, the Bo Jackson, and then the George Brett back in the day. So like that was really like a push to, and then obviously like being born there and everything, it was kind of cool to follow him, And when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs, I was like, oh my God.
I
all right,
think
blew your mind.
What's
yours?
My two. It might sound a little strange, but the Baltimore Orioles and I know, Scott. I knew I was going to get that reaction from Josh, Scott.
Division.
I went. They won their last championship back in '83. That's the year I was born, and I went down there maybe 12, 13 years ago for the very first time, and I absolutely loved the ballpark. I loved the atmosphere, the Inner Harbor area. They sucked, so there was a lot of empty seats, and it was cool just because the fans that were there were actually real fans. So they were just like very easy people to talk to. I like the uniform color, orange and black. And I don't know, it was very different. I've been to quite a few baseball parks in my life. I've been to the Tropicana Field, Rogers Center, Philadelphia Phillies, Fenway, of course, Camden Yards, a couple others.
Camden's supposed to be really nice.
Camden
Candlestick too.
is awesome. Absolutely. There's not one bad seat in that entire place.
No.
And such a cool place to walk around. I think that's part of the reason why I like them. And then, yeah, as a kid, I also like the Oakland A's as well too. So I think Baltimore and Oakland.
I think for me, it was the color, just the color of their uniforms. Sometimes it just was, I don't know. I've always been in the green, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But
It's funny because now I have a bunch of A's hats just for that because I like the logo and the colors, that dark green.
yeah,
I mean, I have all the MLB teams, but I have a few A's hats.
Yeah, I mean, stadium wise though, I've only been to the Detroit Tiger Stadium. I mean, I've never been to any other MLB, stadium. I mean, that's kind of odd, but yeah, I've just never been to any other games. So
No.
be nice to go to different places. Maybe someday I'll come up to Boston and
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's something different. Like I honestly, I've never been into other ballparks. My goal would be Camden Yards and Candlestick and probably Dodger Stadium. But like of all the arenas I've been in, there's something different when you're coming out of the tunnel and walking up and you hit the field in Fenway Park. It's like majestic, man. I mean, that ballpark's over 100 years old, so like there's a lot of history in there, and it's just something else. The vibe you get when you walk through there, it's incredible.
The smell is different too.
Yeah.
Even though it smells bad, it's kind of that you
Yeah.
love it. It smells bad. I don't know. It's just it's weird.
It's a horrible field. It's tiny. Like they squeeze seats wherever they can. Like you're literally like this the whole time, and it's a pain in the ass. But it's definitely a feel for it.
Yeah. There's obstructed seating. You might have a seat where there's a pole in front of you. I've sat in some of those seats myself as well. And
I've had those. Yeah.
that would suck. That would really suck. But I mean, I know that a lot of the older stadiums were designed that way. So I mean, yeah, they want every seat to be able to take, and that you might be behind that pole, but yeah, it's still a good time there, from what I gather. So,
going to be an interesting season with all the rule changes. I'm excited for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it'll be a nice, interesting season this year, and I hope with all these rule changes, they make it to where a lot more people are engaged in it and watch. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, what's your predictions on World Series though?
Houston. Like, where else gonna go? Fucking Houston. I'd be bullshitting if I'd say the Sox. I said I'm hoping the Sox stay out of last place, if anything. But I mean, if anything, like Houston's the heavy hitter right now. They have been. Like, that's the dominant team.
I'm gonna go with the Dodgers this year.
Yeah. If Aaron Judge can bring it up, the Yankees have a possibility if they can make some roster changes before the All-Star break.
That'd be
What's
interesting.
what's your curveball? Your curveball team that you think might go far?
Ooh. I think the Blue Jays, to be honest with you. I think the Blue Jays kind of stacked up a little bit. The Blue Jays are like that underrated team that they always make a push in that wild card. But I think there's a possibility that they could make a push this year.
I don't know why, but for some reason the Padres come to mind.
That could be an interesting game. Yeah, that would be something to see. Maybe Padres and like Houston.
Well,
So
we'll see.
The Dodgers just picked up JD Martinez too, so that's a possibility. He's the age, but man, he's a heavy hitter. The Sox just lost him to the Dodgers, so that's a possibility. Maybe the Dodgers have that little slide there, but they're guaranteed to get. I mean, they're already a contender anyway to get in the playoffs. So I mean, they might go a little further.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see, guys. So that's all we have for this episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the baseball talk and all of sports knowledge. Thanks to Josh. He's the sports nut, and we had to do it eventually. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, JC, for being
There'll
on.
be
Thank
more.
you guys.
NBA playoffs coming up, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing the NCAA playoffs, and we'll just see what goes.
WNBA.
Who knows? Yep, NBA. We'll throw it out there. I mean, hopefully you guys continue to listen and keep following us and watch us on YouTube, because Josh is always funny on YouTube. Jensen, you can see what kind of hat he wears every week. He wears a different hat every week. So today he's Toro. I guess he's sponsoring Toro today. So thank you, Toro, for
I
maybe
noticed
trying to
that.
sponsor.
My mind's just blown. I didn't realize I switched my hats like that.
I thought he had a pot every week that was a little off. That's all. Nope, not today. He's got the hat head.
I got. Hey, next episode when I come back from Japan, I got a hat to wear for the show.
Nice.
Oh,
Can't
vacation.
wait.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going on vacation here next week, guys. So we will be off for Easter and the week after, and then we'll be right back at it. So keep listening to us on iHeart, listen to us on Spotify, watch us on YouTube at Landscapes by Acme, and this is Landscaping to the Point. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you guys for listening.
See you later.
Wow.